So Joel, what was the last antenna you bought? How much did it cost?
I bought a bunch of Lectro antennas recently.
Yeah.
They were like $75 to $90 a piece.
Yeah. What if I told you, in your hand, each of those antennas is about $2?
That's incredible.
Right.
But shouldn't they have a downside?
Ah, well, we're about to find out.
All right.
Yeah, today we're gonna test the stock antenna on the G3 and these custom antennas based on G3 and a different wavelength, and the star of the show, the full wavelength antenna, and of course some lecture antennas, and see if it really is worth 70 or 90 bucks.
I'm now wearing the G3 with a custom antenna. This is the stock length, not the calculated length that we thought it should be. I'm going to be walking out. We have markers at 50, 100, 200, 350, and 400 feet. We'll see how far that goes. Around 100 feet. Got 200 feet right here. All right, we're about at 300 feet right here. About 350 feet here. And we're now at the other side of the field. This is 400 feet. I'm gonna do a spin here in case that makes anything go out by going through my body. I'm back at 300 feet, 350. I'm at 300 feet. This is about 200 feet here. This is 100 feet. And 50 feet. Now I'm going to do the same test, but the antenna is against my back now instead of exposed, so we should have a lot less range. This is 50 feet. This is 100. This is around 200 feet. This is about 250. This is around 300 feet. And this is about 350. And then this is 400 feet here. I'm gonna do another spin. 2 spins. There we go. All right, I'm gonna walk back. So this is now on my back. This is 350. 300. This is about 250. This is 200. This is around 150. This is around 100. This is 50 feet. Next up, we have the other custom antenna that we made. This one is cut to the center of the frequency range instead of the edge of it, which is what the stock one is currently. This is 50 feet. This is 100 feet. This is 200 feet. This is about 300 feet. This is about 350 feet. And here's 400 feet. I'm gonna do a spin. All right, and then I'm gonna walk back. It's around 350. This is 300. This is around 250. This is about 200 feet. This is 150. And 100. And this is back 50. All right, now I'm back on our length of custom, and it is now against my skin again. This is 50 feet. This is 100 feet. This is around 150 feet. This is 200 feet. This is 250 feet. This is 300 feet. This is 350 feet. And this is 400 feet. Do a spin. All right, and then coming back. This is about 350 feet. This is 300 feet. This is 200 feet. This is 200 feet. This is about 150 feet. This is around 100 feet. And this is 50 feet. We are now on the Lectrosonics antenna. This is an A1 antenna, which fits exactly with the wavelength of the transmitter. This is 50 feet. This is 100 feet. This is around 150 feet. This is around 200 feet. This is 100 feet or 250 feet. This is 300 feet. This is around 350 feet. And this is 400 feet. All right, and then heading back. This is around 350 feet. This is 300 feet. This is around 250 feet. This is 200 feet. It's 150 feet. This is 100 feet. And 50 feet. All right, this is that same Lectrosonics antenna, but under my shirt against my skin. This is 50 feet. This is 100 feet. This is around 150 feet. This is around 200 feet. This is about 250. This is 300. This is around 350 feet. And this is 400. All right, coming back. It's about 350 feet. This is 300 feet. This is 250 feet. This is 200 feet. This is around 150 feet. This is 100 feet. And it's 50 feet. Now we're on a completely stock antenna. This is the one that comes built into the original unit. This is 50 feet. This is 100 feet. This is 150 feet. This is 200 feet. This is around 250 feet. This is 300 feet. This is 350 feet. And we are now at 400 feet. Coming back. This is around 350. This is 300 feet. Around 250 feet. This is 200 feet. This is around 150 feet. This is 100 feet. And it's 50 feet. Now we're on the stock antenna, and it is against my skin. This is 50 feet. This is 100 feet. This is 150 feet. This is 200 feet. This is around 250 feet. This is 300 feet. This is around 350 feet. And this is 400 feet. Back. This is 350 feet. This is 100 feet. Around 200 feet. This is 200 feet. This is 150 feet. This is 100 feet. This is 50 feet. And rack. We now swap to a set of G4s. We are now on the enormous antenna. We're going to try it both on the receiver and the transmitter. We currently have it on the receiver first. This is 50 feet. This is 100 feet. This is around 150 feet. This is 200 feet. This is 250 feet. This is 300 feet. $350 feet. And 4 feet. Come back. Got 30 feet. 30 feet. This is around 250 feet. This is 200 feet. This is around 150 feet. And this is 100 feet. And 50 feet. Now that same test against my skin. This is 50 feet. This is 100 feet. This is 150 feet. This is 200 feet. This is about 150 feet. This is 100 feet. And 50. Now we have the incredibly long antenna on the transmitter and the normal antenna on the receiver. This is 50 feet. This is around 150 feet. This is 200 feet. This is around 250 feet. This is 300 feet. This is 200 feet. This is around 150 feet. This is 100 feet. And 50 feet. All right, now we have the long transmitter stuck all the way down my back, directly on my back. I'm only gonna go to 200 feet for this because I don't think it's gonna go any further. This is 50 feet. This is 100 feet. This is around 150 feet. This is around 175 feet. And this is 200 feet. This is 50 feet, and we're back. Did it die?
Did it die?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear.
Maybe the hi-hat.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. All right, so we're at the workstation now. We're going to show you how to make each of these. We will start with the receiver. And here's a little overview of the tools that I have here. So we have a file set. Here's a fine file and a coarse file. Coarse to get rid of a lot of metal, and fine for finishing. Screwdriver. We need 2 bits, the T8 and T6. Some helping hands or some kind of something to help hold. Some kind of wire stripper. And of course, we need wire cutters. Some wire, of course, to be cut and stripped. Some needle nose pliers are really handy. When we're soldering, we need solder, of course. And the star of the show is the SMA female connector and the pin that goes with it. All right, so we got the female connector. I'm taking off the nut and washers and everything because we don't need that for this step. And then here, there's a flat side, and we just need to take off 2 of the flat sides of the hexagon. So that side and that side, so that it fits in the chassis. So we're gonna use the file and just start grinding away. One more thing to do is trim this down a little bit. If you have really durable wire cutters, you can kind of do that. So that, and then that kind of bends it so we can reform it with this. Give it a smoother edge with that. And then if you happen to have a round file, you can kind of use that as a bore to get the hole nice and round. All right, the next step is opening the unit. So we have our T8 and T6 bits. Start off by using anything and poking out this pin in the bottom with the battery door closed. And then remove that, and that can kind of become a screw tray. And then we're going to take the T8 for the back case screws. And the case just lifts off. And then now with the T8 bit, again, we're going to do this top screw up here. Up until this point, these have been machine screws, which means you don't need to be super careful. But on these T6s, they're going through plastic with a really coarse thread. So there are those 2 down here. And at this point, the PCB and the antenna will kind of just lift off. Now this is the receiver, which means this front comes off. On the transmitter, this circuit board comes off, but it's all pretty much the exact same. Set that off to the side, and then we get our iron. And this is probably the easiest part of the whole thing. You just apply some heat onto that solder joint and push the antenna straight down. So once that's out, there's a little bit of solder in there, and that is perfectly fine. So now we have a clean workspace. We're going to take the connector that we had filed down and the pin that came with it, and then some wire. On the website, they say to strip 2.4 millimeters, so I'm going to strip just a tiny bit. Then twist that up. This one just goes right in, just like that. Then we're going to put the tiniest amount of solder that you ever did see. Sometimes a large glob is good to keep it sturdy. Okay. And in there, the metal pin is flush with the white. I think if it's not quite flush, it'll still work, but the closer to perfection it is, the better. So now would be a really great time to check that our filing job fits inside the chassis. So we're gonna put that in there. Make sure it looks like it's in there good there. Check on that side that it's flush along that curve. You can kind of put this in and eyeball how much we need to cut off. So measure twice, cut once. Just kind of keep cutting our way back until we have the right length wire. So might have cut a little too much off. We're going to strip this. And at this point, remember that the flat side that I mentioned at the very beginning, this will go towards the other side. So make sure that's going that way, and we'll just line this up to put through the hole. So now, because we have solder in there already, we're going to have to heat the back and apply pressure from the front. And then once it loosens up, the wire should just kind of slide right through. Great. Now is a great time too if you have a multimeter, and then we can check the pin in the middle to that on the outside, and then also the pin to the jacket, and just kind of different parts and make sure none of the metal is crossed where it shouldn't be. Alright, so now that that's soldered on, we can check and make sure that the wire is long enough. So now we should be good to grab the T8 bit again, start reassembling this thing. So we can start with that one. Also with this receiver, make sure there's nothing in the screen. So we can grab the T6 again. And like I said, we want to be careful with these. So if you feel a lot of resistance and it looks like it's going in kind of sideways, just back it out. Make sure it goes in straight. We'll check them again. Check that everything's lining up. Check again, we have a good solder joint. And then we are ready to put the back on. And then we can just put the rest of the screws back in the chassis. And then one more little check, make sure everything's all tightened. And then we can grab the battery door and then put it in. As far as I know, it's the same both ways. And then now we're going to go back to that hardware from before. I've seen people use it, I've seen people not use it. My SMA connectors are a little too long, so I have to use it without the extra stuff so that I get a tight connection. If you're not careful, you're going to scratch the paint off the top of the unit. But other than that, we are good. That's flush. That tip is flush in there. And then the exact same process is for the transmitter. The only difference is that the front doesn't come off, but the circuit board comes up. So it's just the exact same mod. So now I've shown you how to make the SMA female. You can't really do much with just this. So we're also going to use the SMA male and just any wire. We took an XLR cable and sacrificed the wire, but really all you need is about this much of just stranded wire. Okay, so I'm not going to cut this just yet, in case I have to redo the pin a lot and just work my way towards the end. So a lot like the female, we're just going to start with the pin. Now on the one that I bought, the female has a cup that's really big and the wire can fit through it. With this one, you have to solder it and then kind of stick the wire into the pool of solder. So same kind of thing, tiny little strip. Now we're going to tin the tip of this wire. So now we're done with that wire. This is, I already did this one, but basically you're just going to get the iron in there and put some solder in there. So it's sticking up a little bit, and then we just heat up both ends. Stick it in, simple as that. Now this has a little more length down here than I would have hoped for, so we'll have to see how isolated this is. But from here, we just kind of stick it in there. Insulation is up a lot, so just kind of pinch and try to twist it in. All right, and we know we got it when the pin in there is about the same height as the rim on the threads when they're pushed down. So what I'm going to do is take my multimeter again, just to make sure that no connections are crossed. And then we can also go to the end of the wire and then check continuity between the tip and the end of the wire. Great. That means that the pin is connected to the end of the wire, but not to the outside, because we want those two to be isolated. Now that we have the antenna ready to be sized, we just need to pull up some kind of wavelength calculator. And what Sennheiser does is they take the highest number in the range, in this case it's 558, and they put that in there, and it's a quarter wave in centimeters or inches, and that's how long their antenna is. What we did in our tests, we took the middle of that range, 516 minus 558, whatever that is, and used that as the antenna length from the outside of that metal. Okay, so our midpoint is 537, so we're going to plug in 537. Quarter wavelength is this antenna length, and that is 13.957. So like I said, from the edge of the metal down there, cut that, and then here's our antenna at the length that we calculated. So this is for right in the middle of the range. So now we need some heat shrink tubing. This will make the antenna stand up straight and kind of protect it. Let me cut it. I see a lot of people using lighters, and that's great. That's what I could find today, so that's what I'll be using. But some people prefer heat guns or hair dryers. Just remember that heat rises, and if this gets hot, you can't touch it because it's hot. And this takes a while to cool down, so you have some time once it's cooled to touch, to bend it so it's not like curling a lot like that. So this bent a little bit, so I'm going to coax it up like this so it cools straight. But yeah, then we just work our way down the entire antenna. Okay, now that this is cool to the touch and pretty firm, we can go through and trim down. Kind of start at the end and trim away, take a look, trim away, just a few millimeters at a time. There, we hit wire. I guess that's it. Made the antenna, made the mod.